We're going to roll into this next segment of today's Synergy series, and I want to start with today's, November 1st. We begin the month of gratitude, and honestly, for those that have continued to support this initiative that, as a health and wellness unit, we've wanted to provide to the department, thank you. Thank you for spreading the word about what's going on here within health and wellness. This was meant to be an opportunity for people that don't always get to engage with people within health and wellness to hear about what we're doing, but also for our own staff to be able to take time, at least once a month to get together when it's not necessarily about rules and regulations, but sometimes it is, maybe. But other times it's there's other initiatives that we're doing, the day-to-day operations and things of that nature. So, the title of this lecture series was very intentional. Synergy is the intersection and interaction between multiple groups to create a combined effect that's greater than the separate results that someone could provide in that group. As we get together, you start to see who's involved in these meetings. There's not just people within health and wellness and all of our different units there, but there's people that are reminding us about the rules. There's people represented that are helping us pay the bills. There's people that are helping us fund what we're doing that attend these sessions. There are coaches that are part of the everyday struggle and balance to provide an environment that is the best and an elite environment for our student athletes to succeed both on and off the field. When you look at our mission statement and our operating principles that Dr. Coachinelli went through with us, again, it's a reminder that we are doing that every day. This is an example of how we are trying to be innovative. This is an example of how we are trying to lead and pursue excellence. This is an example of how we are working together as a group to provide something that's very unique and impactful for our student athletes. And as we get into this conversation about this new system, this new platform, I wanted to give you a little bit of background because this has been truly a labor of love. And sometimes I didn't know if love was the word to use. If you've ever tried to get a robust system through IT services on campus, you'll understand where we start in the conversation. But even before then, there was a need that was identified when I first started to make sure that we were working together as one unit, that we were communicating as one unit, and that we were working efficiently for the betterment of our student athletes. And so one of the things that we noticed was that we needed to have something that was designed to help our athletic performance coaches, our athletic trainers, everybody involved with the student athlete experience to be able to communicate. It needed to be secure. It needed to meet the standards of medical security and what we need to do from that standpoint. It needed to be able to help what we're doing within an applied performance basis to produce some of the projects and initiatives that we're trying to affect for our sport teams. We needed to have an environment that was capable of coaches being able to interact with the system. Would our student athletes be able to interact with the system? So the 2018-2019 year will be the year of implementation of AMS. And this is a software program that we identified, and it began with the cooperation and the interaction that we already had, the relationship with Catapult. As you know, we work with Catapult with several sports using the GPS monitors and some other systems, and we're looking to expand what we're doing in those areas. But they have also recently, over the past few years, acquired this system that will help us communicate within what we're doing from a Catapult standpoint, but what we're doing as a health and wellness unit. So the design was meant to provide something for everybody within our athletic department to be able to communicate in a secure way, to help what we're doing become more efficient, to be up to the standards that are created within a medical setting, and also provide the flexibility that sometimes coaches and athletic performance coaches need to have as schedules change according to compliance rules. But those changes from day to day happen, and so we're going to walk through this system. Again, this is just an introduction, and a lot of you have been a part of this, and some of you will be a part of it in the future of how we can start to roll this out to all of our programs and what it will look like. But this is something that we will be embarking in from now moving forward, and have already started and start to integrate more units. But I want to bring up the team that was tasked with trying to help get this rolling, so we would have a place to start, so that all of our health and wellness staff can start to use it and begin to integrate it. And then they will also be the group that's going to be approaching our coaches, talking to our student athletes, and those to try to help at least onboard people to the system so they know what's available, okay? So I asked that group to come up, please. There are many other people involved, but we have a few that are going to speak on different areas. So if you want to, Coach Altoff, if you want to get started here. And we appreciate your time again, and your support for what we're doing. Look forward to the spring. And again, if you have ideas for how we can continue this moving forward, ideas of things that you would like us to talk about in Synergy going into the spring, please let us know. Coach Altoff.
Sure. So a couple of us are going to come up and just kind of talk through the respective areas, but just kind of get everybody to stand up here real quick, because that's what you do in a situation like this, is you make everybody stand up. So it's been an ongoing process. All right, you sit back. It's been an ongoing process for probably a really long time, and we're at a place right now where we feel really good about it. So just kind of wanted to showcase some of the stuff and some of the capabilities. We're going to continue to build it out, really probably over the next couple years. But initially, kind of what it is, if you think where that AMS logo is right in the middle, you just view this as basically like the athlete. And there's so many things that go into their performance: physical, mental, sleep, readiness, technology, nutrition, and all these little subcategories. And so with everything that's going into affecting the athlete on a daily basis, we want to try to find a way to keep track of that stuff, whether it's injury reports, or their sleep, or how fast they run, or how strong they are, what their conditioning times were, all that kind of stuff. And by putting it all in one place, it'll help us with communication and a bunch of other things. So, what is the value of this thing? Number one, it's going to help us streamline our daily ops. So from a data entry standpoint, where we'll kind of get jammed up is we'll put in a body weight in one file, then we'll put a body weight in another file, and then we'll have to send it to this person and send it to that person. So there's so much time where it's like copy and pasting data, which number one takes time, but also increases the likelihood of maybe a copy and paste error. I know nobody here has probably done that, but like those types of issues. So it's going to save you time. It's going to make sure that once the data is in, it's clean and it's simple, and then the consolidation of it. So again, it's all in one place. So now I'm going to be able to look at body weights over a period of time, and I'll be able to run like searchable type stuff there, which will help so I can compare longitudinal stuff. And then again, like the data management. So it's going to be clean and simple with charts and graphs. And we're not going to be opening a variety of files, or maybe I got to email a file to myself, or I got to go to Dropbox or Box or wherever, check my inbox, whatever it may be. I just log on to the AMS and I'm good. And kind of tie that in again to the efficiency. So minimizing the transition time. It's going to be a safety net. So there's going to be checks and balances in there as far as entering the data or entering dates. So if you put in a body weight, that's an easy way to do it, and it's off by however many pounds, like you'll get alerted, or alerts will get sent. So it'll catch a lot of this stuff on the front end and make sure the data is put in efficiently on the front end, and the cleanliness of it, and then again the automation. So it's going to automatically fill across departments, and we won't have to put things in multiple times. So on the communication side of things, the number one thing is the security aspect of it. So HIPAA compliant, FERPA compliant. So if we're on texting injury-related data and we're sending it through our phones, through text messages, there's a security concern there. But now that we are able to use the AMS app, everything's protected and we're secure, and it helps us really on the legal side of things there. The collaboration side of it, you're going to have access to everything, and it's really going to make sure the student athletes come first. So the data is going to be up there. We won't have to wait for a file to get sent or wait for the data to get input. Like you go and you find it right away. So the big collaboration aspect of it, and that kind of gets tied into dashboards. So we'll have dashboards for coaches, we'll have dashboards for sports medicine, and everything's kind of sectioned off. So again, from a HIPAA and FERPA standpoint, we don't have to worry about kind of crossing streams of data. You'll be able to see what you're allowed to see and not see what you're not allowed to see, and that protects you as well. And then automated alerts, so status changes, attendance, hydration, all of that type of stuff. We can get automated alerts sent to coaches or to the athletes as like reminders, or hey, you weighed in this, make sure you drink whatever. And they're really free. If you look at it on a daily basis, selfishly myself, I'm behind a computer for probably 2 hours a day after practice, chopping data and cutting data every single day. So what this will do is instead of copying and pasting and rearranging and whatever, now I can actually spend that time on analysis. And the same thing on the injury side of things, like once it's in, we won't have to move files. So we're actually gonna be able to get out and get in front of our athletes and continue to build those relationships, which is the reason that we're all here in the first place. So with that being said, we're gonna hand it over, and we're just gonna, go ahead, Coach Archie. We're just gonna kind of hand it over and show some screenshots. If we showed everything, we'd be here all day, but we just kind of wanted to highlight a couple of the functions and the things moving forward, kind of by department, and then we'll continue to push this out behind the scenes after today.
Thank you, Coach. Kind of reiterate a lot of the things the Coach has already talked about. From an athletic performance standpoint, we're very early days in what the system is capable of and how we're going to use it with our athletes and training our teams. First and foremost, though, it's a way to kind of advance what we're already doing from a monitoring standpoint in terms of any type of questionnaire data, any weight room benchmarks that we're currently monitoring, anything from a nutrition standpoint that we have a hand in as well. It's a way for us to kind of aggregate all the information for that specific athlete into one location, and then we can set the system up pretty much however we want from there. Setting thresholds to get alerts and notifications to when an athlete maybe falls outside of the norm that we've established for them or for their team or for their sport. So the information that we can collect, we now have a place to warehouse it and do some deeper dives with it going forward. And then so future development, kind of away from the monitoring and notification side of things, is we will have some capability to possibly do some programming. So coaches in the room are familiar with the old pen and paper way or whiteboard way of constructing workouts, putting them up for the athletes to follow, so on and so forth. But with advancements in technology, we've moved to Excel spreadsheets. We still have a ton of paper on the floor across different facilities. If we don't have the sheets available when we need them, then that kind of puts us in a crunch, things like that. But moving forward with this system, completely paperless, if we want it to be, and we have the athlete's information stored in there. So there isn't a lot of number crunching calculations. A lot of those processes can be automated. And then to bring up what we talked about earlier with the athletes going home over breaks, they'll be able to access that information from anywhere. So there's no more sending them home with a packet or an individual workout card that they're going to lose or forget or not even take with them. They'll leave it in the dorm room or they'll leave it in the apartment before they go home. They'll be able to pull it up on their phone, pull it up on their iPad, access it on the web, maybe even print it off, and they'll go from there. So it's something they'll always have with them, and then that information can be interactive so they can fill it out, and that gives us direct feedback when maybe they're on the other side of the world. So it's something for us as coaches to keep a constant eye on our athletes, even when we may be hundreds of miles apart. So moving forward, we'll get Coach Nelly up here to talk about some of the applied performance pieces the system's capable of.
So when we think about using information, data, whatever we may call it, to make decisions, informed decisions, sometimes what happens is we got streams of information coming from everywhere. There's information coming from the weight room, the sports field, the athletic training room. It's coming from everywhere. You can equate that to basically think back to college. You're like writing a paper, and I got this source, this source, this source, this source, and I got to synthesize it into a paper. I got to continually flip back. I got to go over here, then I lose track of this one because I'm over here. That's what happens when you have tons of streams of data. This, I think Coach Rash called it a data warehouse. This is going to allow us to keep everything in one area, and it really allows you to make informed decisions when everything is right in front of you. A couple screenshots here. We can think about it as a team reporting. So thinking about a team as an organism, one single thing. And as a coach, if I want to really push our athletes today, or I want to take a little bit of load away from our athletes today, what does that do to the organism as a whole? We can set our reporting systems up within this to see what the team and how the team is responding to however we put that dosage of stress on them. Next thing we can do is individual reporting. Let's say I want to look at a specific athlete over time. So based upon what we do in training, what we do in recovery, what does that do to impact the athlete over time? How does that impact his or her trends over their career? This is all going to be very automated, and it can be a ton of different data coming in there. Okay? Wellness snapshot. We can look at this from a couple of different standpoints, and Coach Rash is going to talk about the mobile app here in a second. But when we get wellness information coming in, that may be pertaining to athletes' sleep, nutrition, basic things on a day-to-day basis. We as coaches, we as professionals and practitioners, we can look at what they're doing from a snapshot. So right away, where are the red flags are coming about? What does our team or individual look like over time? Or what does it look like today? And this really allows us to delve into it a lot more. Maybe more importantly than anything is when you get everything in together into one single system, you can track trends over time, like Altaf said, without calculating it. Okay, so I can basically look at where I am today or where an athlete is today, and that may be compared to the green line, their all-time average. Or we can set it a monthly average, a weekly average, whatever it may be. And no matter what kind of data stream that is coming in, whether it's performance data, let's say it's a golf TrackMan, baseball TrackMan, football GPS, or even wellness data, body weight, whatever it may be, we can do this with a touch of a button, as opposed to the past, which is just Excel spreadsheets and copy and paste. So that has a ton of error in it. So a lot of different potential here. When we get this information in, we're going to utilize our mobile platform. I'll get Coach Rash to kind of come back up here and do that. But basically here, it's going to come right from the athlete's cell phone.
Okay, so in today's environment, athletes have their phones or iPads with them pretty much nonstop, save for the time when they are training or for team practice, what have you. But there's that period of time beforehand. So currently, some of our teams are already doing some performance monitoring, whether it be wellness questionnaires and other things, some jump testing before we get into training. What the system is going to allow us to do is to make that aggregation and collection of data even more seamless, because the athlete will be able to fill it out on their mobile phone or on their iPad before we even see them for that day. So potentially, if we're, in terms of wellness questionnaires, ideal time to get that information is right when the athlete wakes up or shortly thereafter. So instead of an old way of setting up a web page and an athlete gets a text notification that morning and then maybe they don't get it or what have you, or they have to log onto a computer, fill out the information, they can just have it right there on their phone, fill it out that way, or they don't have to wait to come into the facility and have a coach collect that information. So it gives us a better form of the information to do our analysis with going forward. See a rough idea of what, and this is all highly customizable as well, so the questions that you may be able to read up there aren't necessarily the ones that will be used, but the system allows us to kind of tailor it for whatever our sport needs are, for whatever specific athletes that we're working with, and we need that type of information from them. Moving forward, just more screenshots. Again, this is just an example of a testing situation where we're on the floor. Coaches will have access to the mobile app as well. So maybe we have iPad stations across the racks in the different weight rooms, and it's a testing day. If we're squatting, athlete hits a PR, we'll be able to instantly record that. Or even if we're using the workout functionality, the athlete has their workout and they hit PR, and it automatically sends it up, and we have that information instantaneous. So there isn't any more handwritten, error-laden note-taking. It's all done right on the spot, real time. So more screenshots of wellness. So there's reporting aspects to the mobile app that we'll be able to see, just kind of general trends or what have you. Gives us an idea as coaches of necessarily what state the athlete is coming into the training session, so that we can make adjustments on the fly if we need to. Aside from that, it has calendar functionality along with instant messaging functionality, similar to what maybe you're familiar with as far as Teamworks goes. This is not necessarily a replacement for Teamworks, but there is interplay between the two. So we will be able to pull information from various platforms, as Coach Nelly alluded to earlier, to give us a more complete picture of what's going on with the athlete in that particular day. So moving forward, Matt will talk about power the system has for athletic medicine.
All right. The AMS right now has been really heavily developed so far for athletic medicine and for our electronic medical record. So that's exactly what it is for us. It's a fully functioning electronic medical record, and it's been really a nice change from our old system, which was housed locally. Now this is housed online, available from any computer. So if we're on the road traveling and something happens, we can put notes in, we can notify people, we can send emails securely, we can send messages securely, anywhere from any computer or from our phones from a messaging standpoint. The main interface that we have to deal with our things is twofold. The first one is this dashboard here. So you heard some dashboard stuff from Coach Altoff, but this is what we call the overview dashboard. This, I think, is going to be really useful for a quick snapshot if you're a coach, if you're a strength coach, who's available that day, and it's all color-coded, pretty intuitively, right? Green means go, yellow means some limitations or maybe slow down, red means out or not available, right? So we can use all of those different things to change the status quickly. If it's on the fly and a strength coach checks the platform right before they head out on the floor, hey, this person's unavailable, maybe I need to do some digging and figure that out. In those instances where maybe the athletic trainer gets a text message, he's in another meeting in another room, and the strength coach can see it, he can make a quick change and boom, there you go, right? The other thing from this one is this gives you access to the athlete's individual profile. So as a freestanding electronic medical record, it has all of their insurance information, it has their dental information, it has allergies, it has parent contact information, it has addresses, all that kind of stuff that we can access and have housed securely behind all of our firewalls to be available for us if we need to pay a bill. Hey, what kind of insurance do they have? We can check right here. It's all in one place. This next dashboard is called the availability dashboard. So this one is probably where most of our athletic medicine staff is going to interface most of their day because we have the ability to change the status directly from this board. We also have the ability to create an injury directly from this board. Another interesting feature, if you look up, right up in here, you get a notification once this gets rolled out to the student athletes from their mobile app. They can report an injury to you if they wake up and they were throwing up all day or something like that. They can say, hey, I'm sick, right? After the trainer comes in, looks at their dashboard, boom, I have a notification, this athlete is ill, and we can follow up and double back, contact that athlete, contact physicians, send an email, update, whatever needs to happen, right? So it's a really nice consolidated area that we can deliver some information. Another nice thing is over here in this description box, we can give a quick descriptor. So if that athlete, let's say they're sick and we think they need to see a physician, we can just write a little note and it'll say, reported an illness this morning, and then if the strength coach looks at it, the coach looks at it for a morning practice, hey, this person reported an illness, they can get a quick little detail there, even without us actually seeing that athlete. We'll follow up later, we can communicate some information in that box. The other thing it could be useful for is putting some weight room limitations right there, right? If they're in that yellow category, no left lower extremity or no squatting or whatever the case may be, right? And again, it's all right there. It's accessed by their availability. It gives actionable information to our staff so they can do what they need to do. These dashboards are also really nice. If Tim is looking at injured athletes and he says, oh, this person has an ACL tear, they're going through ACL rehab. Maybe nutritionally, I need to engage that athlete to make sure that their diet and their nutrition is appropriate, right? So all of our support systems, maybe Monique would see it and say, hey, that person, maybe I want to follow up with that sport athletic trainer and see if they can come to see me if they're going through a long-term rehab, right? So that collaboration, is really a huge piece of this for us, and I think it'll help our athletic trainers to simplify their day-to-day and not have to send out 16 text messages to 16 different areas, right? We can all be a little proactive, and then overlay our normal communication systems that we have currently, face-to-face, injury reports, meetings, and things like that. But this is a nice catch-all. It's a safety net, and that information is available to everybody who interfaces with that student athlete to make sure that they're well taken care of. One of the future things that we can do with this you know, with our electronic medical records, our note-taking and all those things, our rehab and our you know, day-to-day treatment logs and things like that, we can create templates much like our strength and conditioning coaches, our athletic performance coaches can. And then if we get a new graduate assistant on board, you know, there's resources there that are available. You know, we can do things even as far as, you know, this surgeon's ACL rehab protocol, right? We can have that template there that's followable, it's accessible by all of our staff, and we can communicate that and use those really cool, neat functions to help our staff grow and ultimately take care of our student athletes without any, you know, hiccups. So I think that's my main stuff. I'll pass it off to Carrie, and she'll take it from there.
Okay, so this slide's going to show the different types of ways we can report information. So I think if you're a pie chart person, a bar person, a bar graph, you can see different data presented in different means. The ones that are up there may not be ones we would use a lot, but count of, see, I told you I didn't know where the green line was on there.
Green line on the front.
Right there. So this pie chart is going to show count of injuries per team. So how many injuries did each team have? So you have one color for each team, and then the volume that they have. Ones that I think would be cooler from our end are going to be injuries related to injuries per sport. So which types? Did A&T have a ton of ACLs? Did we have ACLs on the road versus home matches? So when we enter in a new injury, the athletic medicine staff enters in a bunch of subcategories. So what time did it happen or what day? Where were we? Were we home or away? What kind of surface were we on? Was it a wet surface? Which venue on campus? So volleyball goes to a bunch of different venues. Will we see a trend in when they practice at Farrell versus Mars or something along those lines? So we'll be able to, with a few clicks, run a spreadsheet or put it in a nice table or pie chart for coaches to look at. I don't think, and I just saw you guys thought of shoes. But we don't have that as a subcategory, but the great thing, and what I've really loved about being a part of this process, I've used a lot of different EMRs, electronic medical record systems, that we can build things, and AMS has been working with us to help do what we think is best. So as we've been using it, athletic medicine is using it the most so far. If we've seen something that we need, we want, we think would be helpful to present to you all, then they've been working with us to get that in. So if you see something, you know, definitely send us an email, or if you think this would be cool. But as the injuries go in and we start to use it more and more, we'll see where we need. But in the big picture, looking at trends, administrators want to see how many injuries are on a team, that this will be something that we can piece together nicely, package it up, put a bow on it, and show people what's being done. In the future, what I'd like to do is be able to show, okay, I dry needled this injury 10 times and I got them back this fast. So we can compare treatment techniques, different modalities, use of a chiropractor, use of a $10,000 machine that we think we need to buy, but we have it on loan, but we start documenting that we are using it a lot, so then that gives us information to share with administrators and whatnot of, hey, we really need this, or we don't really need it and we're not getting a lot of use out of it. So we'll be able to track the different modalities, or if you want to know if an athlete, how many times did they take care of themselves, then you can look at, okay, they came in 25 times and all they did was ice, versus they came in 25 times and they did their rehab, or they got needles, or what kind of technique that they're using. So those are things we're building in now, that the treatments, i.e. like the dry needling or different modalities we use, isn't in there, but that's what they're working on with us, which again, has been great. They've been willing to work on building these things out, because this has been more on the Catapult side, so bringing in athletic medicine is a little bit newer for them. In addition, it's not on this slide at all, but we are working to develop injury reports. Most coaches have already been receiving some form of an injury report, but this is going to help us standardize it, so it'll look the same, with the same information, and we can generate it quicker. Maybe you'd like to get one daily and see what it looks like. So right now we're still working on that, but that should be up and running by the end of the school year, I would hope. There we go. Okay, so how do you log into it? I think this is a great feature, especially for our student athletes. but it's secure, so you feel, is this the only slide for this one?
There's two, there's
Okay.
one more.
Is there one more? So this is what the main screen looks like on the.
Hey, oh, spoiler alert.
Told me that, like it was the depth of my.
So you build anticipation.
Right here, if you just click on that button, it's gonna take you to, looks like our login. And so the athletes don't have to remember another password. Our staff hasn't had to remember another password. I've seen them use excuses. Oh, I can't remember that password. You have to email the company, ask them to reset it for you, or what you need to do. So, in addition, then it makes it secure. So, I don't think I saw many from athletics in the Cyber Day meeting last week on campus, but they did a healthcare Cyber Day, and healthcare is one of the #1 attacks for cyber theft. It's got a lot of information, and it's really easy to get to. So, if our computers are stolen, then it's going to be secured through the Baylor Incommon security network. Ready?
I'm ready. All right, so just kind of tying it all together. So what, it's something spend a good amount of money on. So how is it going to be helpful? Well, number one, we're the first school in the country to have it. We're the first D1 school, and like Ricky Bobby said, if you're not first, you're last. So we have that going for us. But seriously, like from a recruiting standpoint, it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be something we're really going to be able to highlight, especially talking to mom and dad, because it's going to make sure that no athlete falls through the cracks. We'll make sure we're taking care of their son or daughter. We're still working on onboarding nutrition, working on the mental health side of things, and working on athletic performance while we're in the process of doing it. It's just something that's going to take place here over the next year. But hopefully, a year from now, we're using phones, we're using tablets, and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to save some trees as well. And then we're also looking at bringing in some data streams. So Fusionetics, Vert, TMG, everything is going to be put up there, and it's going to be housed there. And then continue to improve the capacity. So working on record keeping, there's actually a function where, from a coaching standpoint, if you want, coaches can put their practice plans up there. So now if a coach wants to compare what they did this August to last August, they're gonna be able to go up there, check their notes, and it's all gonna, again, be in one place and be on their phone. And then analytics. So analytics is kind of the first step, and then using artificial intelligence to begin to forecast and predict injuries. So injury tracking, like Carrie mentioned, surfaces, sports, and performance metrics, and just kind of want to just use this last example to kind of tie everything together and how this is going to be really big for us. But it's called survivorship bias. So the easiest example to explain this is way back in World War II, the first time that airplanes were used basically to fight a war. I'll bring it full circle. Okay. And so what was happening is generals that were sending these planes out, and planes were coming, they didn't really know how to use them. So, but they were losing a lot of them. And so these planes would come back and they're like, well, we're losing a lot of planes. You see where the holes are at. We need to put more armor where the holes are. Like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. But if you think about it, it really doesn't. Because if they've gotten shot there and they've made it back, they don't need more armor there. Where they need more armor at is these areas where they're not getting shot. Because clearly that's where airplanes are getting shot down and they're not making it back, right? So from an injury standpoint, a lot of times we focus on injuries and like athletes that got hurt. Well, there's also a lot of athletes that didn't get hurt. So the athletes that didn't get hurt, what are the differences there between the ones that did get hurt? And how can we put some armor on the athletes that did get hurt while we're building them back from a return to play standpoint, if we're doing assessments when freshmen come in, so we can kind of build them and put them in a position from a strength, power, and speed standpoint to make sure that they don't get injured and they make it back in competition. So we're working on that part. That's going to take us a while, but it'll be fun, and we're excited about the process of continuing to build this thing forward. So is there any questions about this or anything? No questions. If something does pop up, let us know. We did accidentally, we got so excited about the AMS, we forgot Dave Snyder. I can't believe it, but Dave, any updates on the athletic medicine side of things?
Thank you for saving the best for last.
Yes, sir.
Just an update on what's going to happen as we finish the semester up. Even though we just started November today, it goes by really quickly and we're already home for the holidays. So we don't want to forget things that we end up doing as we wrap everything up to try to make sure that we send the student athletes home taken care of and know exactly what's going on before they return. So some of the things that are going to be coming up